This is an ultimate global podcast. Hello, and welcome to our Daily Dose podcast, covering all about day-to-day global affairs. You're listening to Saurabh Kora and George Mavros from Sydney.
Hello and good evening to everyone who is joining us from around Sydney and also from around the world. And today, as you all know, that we are coming here for this interesting Friday daily dose of Ultimate Global Podcast, where we touch base upon this theme of international education and international students, specifically focusing towards international students. And being an international student, I really feel that this theme is something which I can definitely talk about, and also the special guest joining me tonight can definitely talk about that. We have got Nayonika Bhattacharya joining us for today's session. She's also an international student, similar to me, studying at UNSW Sydney. And she's also the former ISLA ambassador. For the people who are in Sydney, you must be knowing about that International Student Leadership and Ambassador Program. That's what she has been, and she's doing an amazing stuff at UNSW Sydney. I've been following her work for the last 1 to 2 years since the time I landed in Sydney, and one of the inspirational international students is Nayonika Bhattacharya, definitely. So, to discuss about this topic on networking as an international student, I thought to pick Nayonika because I think she has been doing a phenomenal job in Sydney, and people or students who might be listening to her from around the world will really take a lot of insights out of this session. So, I will, first of all, ask you, Nayonika, to share something related to this topic. So what are your general comments on this networking as an international student?
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, thank you so much for having me here. It's really lovely to meet all of you. I'm glad that you're choosing to spend some Friday night time with us. I'm sure there's better things to do eventually, when things look better. But I really appreciate that you're here. In terms of general comments, what I do have to say is that when you start as an international student, it's definitely hard. It's very different from what you would expect as well. But it definitely gets better. The only thing I would say is stay true to who you are and what your story is. You really don't have to change enormously. If you like who you are, if you really want to, redefine your story, you're more than welcome to. But if you like who you are and like what you're doing, and if you've, had a great upbringing and a very rich historical cultural background, feel free to share that. People are just curious when you move here. So I think the biggest thing is make the most out of that curiosity, not just yours, but also people's. So let yourself be put in that spot where you share your stories. That's the most important thing, and make authentic connections. Don't try and get something out of someone all the time. Like, just genuinely make good connections. Yeah.
And also sometimes, Monica, there are so many different ways through which you can network within the community. Some of the ways are hidden ways. Most of the international students are not aware of those opportunities which might be hidden within the university, or by interacting with people who might not create a direct value for you. As we have been talking about this in the last few sessions as well. For example, at UNSW or in Sydney, we have got these university clubs which make the university environment so much interactive, and you can network with people within your faculties and people coming from the industry. That's what makes the networking very important component for you as an international student, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the interesting things is that you're not just the cultural background or like the degree that you're studying, you're also a lot of interest. So you might be someone who's absolutely obsessed with Manchester United now because Ronaldo has moved back, or you're someone who's, a new fan of Formula One, or you enjoy playing Quidditch because Harry Potter inspired you. You never know what you like, and there might be things you really want to try. You suddenly want to become a photographer, you're more than welcome to do that. So as Saurabh has suggested, it's important to sort of keep your interests broad and meet people and just be genuine when you're chatting with them. You don't just have university clubs, but it gives you an insight into external programs or volunteering programs that are happening across the city of Sydney. that might be happening in different cities as well. There might be events that you can attend together, conferences you can go to as well that a lot of these clubs set up. So the opportunity doesn't just come from attending club events or socials because you meet people there. It also allows you to get to know them, but be involved in other like fun social stuff together as well. So it doesn't always mean that you have to, gain some professional component out of it. Sometimes you just generally want a good social connection because a good social community will keep your spirits up and then you can explore what you like. So clubs is one way. There's also a lot of leadership programs at uni, especially if you're at UNSW. But I'm sure other universities and tertiary education institutes offer a lot of opportunities to do external training or internal training and programs as well. So pick those up, have a chat with people during breaks and things like that, introduce yourself to them, stay connected. You can either do that via social media or something more professional like LinkedIn. Make groups, try and connect with people, catch up on campus, get coffee with them. You don't have to become the best of friends right away, but you can get coffee and catch up for 30 minutes, have a quick chat about what you're thinking, exchange thoughts of both if you have similar ideologies, get their feedback on that. So there's different ways in which you can get involved. If you enjoy gaming, sometimes it just might be that as well.
Absolutely. And I think you might be also knowing about this point. I was discussing about this last week when we were talking about the importance of an elevator pitch and a small talk while you are in a networking event. How important it is for you to deliver in the right manner to the person whom you are talking to. So there are 3-4 things which are important. Whom are you talking to? When are you talking to? How are you talking to? And what are you talking about? So is it relevant to the thing that you want to do? And that's where it links back to your passions and goals. And then it comes back to this journey of having this component of networking through the elevator pitch and small talk by meeting people in a way that impresses, because it's more about selling your personal brand, isn't it, these days?
Yeah, there's absolutely that case if you have to sell your brand, but I'm also going to, give you the disclosure that if you're a new, younger international student, like, just in your undergrad, or you've never been outside of your home city or country, or you're just generally a shy person, the elevator pitch and small talk can be absolutely terrifying. And I understand that. I have a lot of friends who, don't talk as much as I do. I can absolutely, have a great chat with someone because I love getting to know people. But I have a lot of friends who are just generally quieter people than I am. If you are that kind of person, it's absolutely okay. If you don't have your elevator pitch or small talk perfected, it's perfectly okay to be shy. It's a very normal feeling that you will have. But what is important to remember is that if you do have someone in a group setting you can identify is outgoing, it's okay for you to sort of rely on them to kickstart the conversation, but also make an effort. So if they ask you something or if they're sharing something, make an effort to follow it up with acknowledgement. Share something about yourself with them as well. So that way it will allow them to sort of keep the conversation going. Something else I definitely suggest is also show up. If you don't always speak, that's fine. But if you consistently show up to events and social settings and opportunities, people will recognize you. And that's how you can create a lot of friendships, because familiarity builds a lot of connection. So you don't have to be the most outgoing and outspoken person who has to have a view all the time. You're perfectly okay to like just chill there, have a good chat. But as long as you show up, people will then have that connection because like, oh, I've seen you in this previous event. And that familiarity will lead to friendship. And then you can build that in a way that you're more comfortable with if you're just generally not outgoing.
What a wonderful point you have made, Nayonika, related to this fact that even if you are not an outspoken person, you can still be networking with the right people by just being present in the events regularly. And that's what we say with respect to the LinkedIn as well, that LinkedIn is a great platform nowadays for professional networking where you can start tagging people with whom you are interacting with. You can have, so whenever you attend an event, I think I shared this in one of the events at UNSW, whenever you attend an event, follow up with the speakers and try to build a quality connection with the speakers. It should not look fake to them. Sometimes what happens is they can easily identify when you're faking up that connection by talking just about the job and the job that they are offering you. Instead of that, try to have a quality connection. Probably call them up for a quick catch up over a coffee or over a drink, whatever you like to have. And then that really starts the quality conversation, which might delve into some indirect and direct opportunities. I'm sure you might have experienced that, Nayonika.
Yeah, absolutely. Like connecting with mentors and speakers is definitely a very interesting space to be in because they definitely come with a lot of experience that you don't have. It also creates a sense of fear and confusion about how you can approach them. So those are very normal feelings to have. One way Saurabh suggested is, you can reach out to them, follow up about the stuff that they've spoken about. Another thing that you need to realize is all of the people you reach out to, everyone's a very real person behind that screen. Over the last few months, we've obviously been doing a lot of work behind the screens, but we need to remember that everyone has their own responsibilities. Everyone has their own stresses, their own personal life commitments as well. So everyone has a story to themselves. I'd strongly encourage you to sort of reflect and really dig into that story. And a lot of the times people will happily share their story that, this is my background, this is what I've done, this is who I am. And if you don't know what you want to talk to your mentor or the speaker about, what you can do is be like, look, I know you shared your story at this platform. I was quite inspired by it. This is my story. What would you advise me based on that? Or can I learn more about your story? What did you learn? Obviously, you can only start asking a few questions once you've built a really good connection with the mentor, and that requires you to show up frequently. But your catch-ups don't have to be super long. It can just be a quick 15-minute call, or a quick 15-minute video call or coffee as well. They don't always have to be extended. They don't have to be half an hour, 45 minutes, or 1 hour long. As long as it's authentic, as long as you've genuinely reflected on, oh, you said this, I quite liked it. I read an article related to this, or I had a similar conversation with my friend or parent about this. I'm confused about this thing now. Can I get your opinion on it? And then if you do take their opinion into account, and if you make changes with that, let them know, just like, hey, just to let you know, we had a great chat. This is what I did about it. Thank you so much for your guidance. I really appreciate that. So it's really good to sort of follow up with them as well, because at the end of the day, they are people. They would like to know if they've had some investment in your decision-making process, how that went. So definitely do follow up with them as well. But again, there's no set formula for how you have to network as an international student, both through hidden ways, both through LinkedIn, anywhere. There's no one-stop shop that will fix all of these questions that you have about networking. I think the only thing that would work is like be yourself. Really figure out what your story is and how you want to share it. Some people are more comfortable sharing it in person. Some people are more comfortable doing it via catch-ups and meeting more people. Some people like doing it as community workshops and community outreach. So whatever works for you, find that and then go with that, because you don't have to follow a set formula where I've met you at an event, we've done a LinkedIn exchange, we've now gotten coffee, we now catch up every 2 months. It doesn't have to be that case. I have a lot of mentors I speak to once in 6 months, and we have nice 2-hour-long conversations. I have some mentors I message every week and just give them a quick 15-minute update about this is what's happening. I have some mentors who I speak to every month. I have some mentors I only write emails to. So it really depends on what works for you. And what works for the mentor as well. You have to really respect each other's time. And not just in a mentoring setting, but also as friends. Friendships will look different when you come here as an international student, because everyone has different responsibilities as well. So it's really important to remember that.
Absolutely. And I think one point that you touched based upon was this critical point of being authentic, being open about what you actually are. One more thing that I wanted to touch base upon is related to this applying filters in front of us. When we go for any networking event, there are a lot of times when we are just applying some sort of filters while talking to different people, in the sense that if they are really able to create a value for us or not. And sometimes I also feel that it's a process of mutual value creation. If you are able to create some value for the other side, then automatically some value is also created for you. There can be different forms of networking, as Nayonika just pointed out. One I always talk about is collaborations. I look forward to collaborations and partnerships with different people. But when I partner with different people, I also look forward to create some value for the other party. Otherwise, if you don't create a value for any party, it is very hard for them to give them any value. That is one way. Second way can be that even without giving value, you're talking to them something related to their field or something which you heard them speaking in an event. It's so critical that if I was talking to you about networking, and after this event, somebody messages Nayonika or Saurabh stating that I heard you in the podcast today and I really liked your interactions. Mm, Do do you want to connect with me on LinkedIn and do you want to have a quick catch up? That's how you can follow up with people after you listen to them, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And on that whole note of like value creation, someone might be the CEO of a company and you might be a fresh high school leaver. That does not mean that you don't have value. Everyone has value, and no effort is ever lost. Anything that you put together with good intention will always lead to something positive. You might not see the results immediately, but those results will add up and you will see them eventually. So um, I would advise it when you do go ahead with authenticity, make sure that it comes with good intention, that it does not come from a place where you want something. You want to be authentic, but you want to be authentic with good intention. So, having said that, that value creation is a very unique space. Sometimes you don't know what that value looks like. You might not have any expertise, which is fine. So you might not be able to create something immediate, but your insights, your presence, what information that you can offer, your honesty and your presence as well is often the simplest value that you do create and provide to a mentor or a friend as well. It's quite important to realize that the value doesn't have to look like you have to either collaborate on something or you have to create something or you have to provide or respond to something. Sometimes just plain presence is really good value as well. And just going back to networking as well, from a friendship perspective, just being there for people sometimes is more important than anything else. And that's the case across Australia, in my experience, that everyone really appreciates the fact that you're just there. You don't always have to create something.
Absolutely. And I wanted to also talk about quickly those key platforms in Australia. Though we have just named this event as networking as an international student, but students who might be listening to us as an international students might want to look at those key resources, such as in Australia, we not only have the job portals such as Seek and Indeed, or you look at the university careers platform, but also you can tap onto these platforms such as Meetups. Meetups is a wonderful platform. If you go to Meetups and type in professional groups in Sydney, professional groups in Melbourne, you will get connected to so many people in different sectors such as IT, manufacturing, technology, marketing, whatever sector you want to work in. And you can start attending those meetups. Unfortunately, we don't have those meetups face to face at the moment. But I think I would recommend that a face to face meetup is definitely worth it. Once the lockdown gets over in any particular city around the world, if you can go and take some time with a particular person who is a senior executive and just tell him about your story indirectly and have that connection being built up over a couple of months, I'm sure you will definitely be getting some hidden opportunities that you might be looking for, and you might be frustrated with that you're not getting any opportunity. I think this is one tip that I would give, and I would also want Nayonika to give that one hidden key tip from her side.
Yeah, absolutely. One important key tip that I would have is that your value and the opportunity you have is never lost. You can always create it yourself. I think, if anything, young people these days are extremely resilient. Having been through the last 2 years of a very uncertain stage of either being stuck overseas or being in lockdown across different periods or being away from loved ones and friends and family, we're extremely resilient and we're extremely, capable of being creative in a way and how we can connect with people as well. So if you cannot do, in-person meetups, virtual meetups can happen as well. And your meetups can look absolutely different. If you are passionate about going into the corporate side of things, follow what Saurabh said. But if you are not sure what you want to do or how you want to go about things, and you're just figuring things out as a fresh high school leaver, or You've just finished your undergrad, but you're still unsure if you want to pursue a career in a specific sector. It's absolutely okay to be confused. Connect with people who are like-minded like you. Your meetup can just be a virtual, try and chat session, get coffee with a bunch of friends virtually, have a chat about how they're feeling. Because a lot of the times you'll find that just discussing things with people will result in you thinking about solutions as well. So you sometimes will come up with your own solutions. But don't just show up to like meetups. Also try and interact with people through social media. Social media is a very powerful tool these days. And people organize around a lot of movements that they're very passionate about. There's a lot of social justice movements. There's a lot of intellectual content out there as well. You have people discussing books, philosophy, theory, economics, theology. People are discussing all of this. So get involved, jump in if you care about these things. You have Discord. People catch up on Discord as well these days. You've got Facebook Lives, you've got watch parties. People and companies are both trying to get as creative as they can. Something else that also happens is there's a lot of free knowledge out there. In a way that the world is very global and connected now. Knowledge is very, very easily transferred as well. So you've got CEOs and co-founders and, people who run things, having sessions, have a catch up with them, chat with them about how these things work, how these things run. Apart from that, also reach out to people who are just 1 or 2 levels above you in a job that you want. While it is great to follow CEOs and co-founders, they're very removed from the job that you want. But people who are very close to you in the job that you would like are the best people to reach out to. And just going back to the first point I said, everyone's human. Everyone has a story. Everyone has things going on. So just reach out to these people 1 or 2 levels above you, and generally tell them that, hey, I'm contemplating a degree or a career in this field. I know you've done this. I'd love your feedback or insights on this. Can I have a chat? And people appreciate that. Everyone's just happy to share knowledge. But it's just generally about you showing up and just doing it. It could be social media, it could be LinkedIn, it could be meetups. But don't hesitate to reach out. Everyone, either on your level, slightly higher than you, or even in a position that is slightly lower than you in the sense that they're high school leavers now, and you're an undergrad student or you're a master's student, everyone has value to offer. While you are learning and teaching, both of you exchange things constantly. So really don't think that you're missing out at any point.
I think beautiful points raised, Nayonika, there. That how important it is for us to be authentic, first of all, that you raised that before, and also now that you raised that just attending events and meeting different people can make a big difference in your life, not only professionally, but also socially. Mental well-being has been one of the major concerns during the coronavirus pandemic. So when you meet different kinds of people, you never know, you might make some good friends as well, whom can become your good friends throughout your university life for the next 2 to 4 years. And that's what you are looking for. Another thing, before we end this session, just I missed on one thing, which is related to the LinkedIn. Whenever you're going to the LinkedIn, there is another thing which people don't apply sometimes, is the filters. LinkedIn filters are actually a very important tool to searching the right people that you are looking for. For example, if you're from UNSW Sydney and you're looking for people who have graduated from UNSW Sydney, you can simply go to those filters and apply the filters by stating the name of the university, typing the industry that you are looking to work in, and also typing the roles that you are looking forward to work in. In that way, what you can say is, if you are wanting to work as a management consultant at Deloitte and you look for a person who has already graduated from the same degree at UNSW Sydney, you can get connected to them and ask them for the tips as to how they got recruited into the same company. So I think that can be a great advice. Any final comments, Nayonika? I think this has been a really productive discussion.
Absolutely. I think I'd just say that, totally acknowledge that you're scared and you absolutely have no clue what you're doing. I think anyone who's, whether an international student or not, will absolutely tell you that we all have the same experiences, that no one thinks that they know what they're doing. And the secret that I've learned is everyone thinks like that, no matter what the age. No one thinks that they know what they're doing. And that's perfectly okay. It's okay to be scared, but Show up and do it even if you're scared. And eventually that big ball of fear will like get smaller and smaller and smaller, and you'll be more comfortable with things. And it'll get smaller because you'll make more friends and you'll have more connections and you'll show up to things and do a lot more things. So it's perfectly okay. And really acknowledge how you're feeling. And then when you're at a better spot doing whatever you're doing, reflect and look back and see how much you've grown and how much you've gained as well. That'll be both professional networks, social networks, friends, memories and experiences. So show up even if you're scared, because we all were really scared. Some of us are still scared, and that's perfectly okay. Showing up is the important thing because you always have something to offer. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Absolutely. And just before we end the session, just want to point out, this point that sometimes people are only, posting about the things which are happening in their life and are creating a meaningful impact, and they don't share the bad things. But it doesn't mean that everything is hunky-dory in their lives. So stop getting jealous from other people, because that's the main point. A lot of times we are just looking at our social media and looking at each other's stories and getting anxious and nervous about each other. That is not at all the point. I totally believe in the fact that you are your only competition. You're competing with your own self. You're not competing with anyone else. And if you feel like something is causing you anxiety, something is causing you, hurting your mental well-being, I would definitely recommend you that you go reach out to your friends, reach out to your student representatives in different universities. They provide a great platform to you to answer those queries in a way that you can take those queries to the right people in the university. Nayonika is one of the student representatives, and I'm sure that many more student representatives, they're always ready to help you out in different ways, not only in this university, but across all the universities. Well, that's it for this session, and I hope to see you again, Nayonika, for some of the other future sessions where we talk more about different areas in international student sector.
Absolutely. Sounds great. Thank you so much for having me.